All right, so taking a look at 8.2, which is factoring x squared plus bx plus c. So when we're doing these, what we're focusing on, zoom in here, is getting it into this factored form right here. X plus m times x plus n, okay? So we're basically, again, doing that backwards distributive property. So what I like to do is always identify first that, in this case, what your a x squared plus bx plus c. So tell me what your a is, which in this case, and for all these examples at a2 is always going to be 1, and your b is 7, and c is 12. So then from there, we want to always find the factors of c. So let's start with 12 and 1, 6 and 2, and 4 and 3. Okay? So out of all of these, which one is going to add to give you 7? So 12 plus 1 is 13, so that doesn't work. 6 plus 2 is 8, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So that's the choice that we're going to use. So once you find your pair, this represents your m and your n. It doesn't matter which one's m and which one's n. Multiplication order doesn't matter. So we end up writing x plus 4 times x plus 3. So this is our factored form of the original trinomial at the top. Now, what you can always do to check is we can work on what we call FOIL. And all FOIL is a form of distributing. And it's just so you don't forget anything. So F stands for first, O stands for outer, I stands for inner, and L stands for last. So just think of that as the order. So first, your first terms are x and x. X times x is x squared. Your outer, the things that are on the outside, x is furthest out, and so is 3. So we multiply those two to get 3x. Your inners, 4 and x, so 4x. And your last, so the last thing in each binomial, 4 times 3 is 12. So right now we have 4 terms. We originally only had 3, x squared plus 7x plus 12. But remember, 3x plus 4x, we can combine like terms. So this is x squared plus 7x plus 12, which is what we originally had, so we're good. You don't have to do this. Our final answer was the x plus 4 times x plus 3, but this is just how we can check to make sure that we factored it correctly. Okay, so I'm going to jump over and I'll just do C for you, so then you can kind of walk through that, and then you can look at this example B down there by yourself. Okay, so factors, or sorry, we need to identify A is 1, because we're ax squared plus bx plus c. Our b is 11, and c is 28. So look at the factors of 28. 28 and 1, 2 and 14, and 4 and 7. So 28 plus 1 isn't going to work. 2 and 14, nope. 4 plus 7 gives us 11. So there we have x plus 4 times x plus 7. And there's your answer. Okay? All right, so for this first set of examples here, it says in the directions here that we're talking about both B and C are positive. Okay, so don't worry about that. If you go through the process, it doesn't matter if B is negative, C is negative, they're both negative. It doesn't matter. It's all about just being able to find the factors of the C term. So this, of this right here, and figuring out which ones combine to give you the B term. That's the same thing that you do every single time. So let's look at that next page. Example 2. That's what we want to look at. Okay, so this is what I was saying, is that now it's showing, okay, C is positive and B is negative. But that really doesn't matter. There's really no reason that that should be typed there, because it's the exact same process. So if you identify A as 1, B is negative 11, and C is 28. The only difference now is we're going to find these factors, so 1 and 28, 2 and 14, and 4 and 7. But the only difference now is we need them to combine to be a negative 11. So we know when we add all of these factors up, none of them are going to give you negative 11. But since it's a positive, the factors would include also negative 1 and negative 28, negative 2 and negative 14, and negative 4 and negative 7. Okay, because when you multiply two negatives, you still get that positive. Okay, so we know this is going to give us negative 29, so that doesn't work. This gives us negative 16, so no. So negative 4 and negative 7 gives us that negative 11. Okay, so similar to the one that we did before, it was the same one in C up here, but it was positive. Okay, so the only difference now that changes is that when we write out in factored form, we have x minus 4, because it was negative 4, times x minus 7. Okay, so when you have that B term is negative and your C is positive, it turns out that you have both your M and your N are negatives. But like I was saying, don't memorize that. Those are little shortcuts to kind of help you remember, but if you just go through these steps, then you're fine. Okay, so let's look at, oh, it turns like that. Okay, let's look at B over here, and then we'll jump to example 3 after this. Okay, so A is 1, B is negative 5, and C is 4. Okay, so factors of C. So we know 1 and 4, and 2 and 2. But again, we wanted to add to give you a negative number. So we're going to include negative 1, negative 4, negative 2, and negative 2. So which one of these numbers over here are you going to add that are going to give you negative 5? So that would obviously be these. So once you find your set of factors, then you just write it in factored form. X minus 1 times x minus 4. And you're done. Okay? All right, so jumping over to, all right. So, wait, did I skip something? Example 3. Okay, so C and D there at the top are just what I went over. So, especially, I would try C. Don't worry too much about D, but try doing C by yourself that same way. Okay, so down here, it says C is negative now. Okay, so they're trying to give you like little hints on what you should do, but I would just go through this exact same process of identifying A as 1. Sorry, I don't like that this is crooked. It's driving me nuts. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, get out of here. B is 4, and C is negative 21. Okay, so we go through C. So now it's a negative. So yeah, 1 and 21 are factors of 21, but since it's a negative, you're either going to have negative 1 and positive 21, or positive 1 and negative 21. Okay, and then our other option, 7 and 3, but one of them has to be negative. So just flip. Okay, so we're still looking at what combines to give us 4. So we know the first two aren't going to work. So 7 plus negative 3 is a positive 4, whereas this one is a negative 4. We want positive 4 in this case, so we're going to use 7 and negative 3. So the 7 is positive, so when you write it in factored form, x plus 7, and then you have x minus 3. There you go. The exact same thing that we've been doing this entire time. Okay, so both B and C, you could try those. And you'll notice now that when C is negative, you have one positive and one negative in factored form. So that's kind of like that shortcut that they're having you fill in, I think, some boxes and stuff. But again, if you just list your A, B, and C and find the factors of C that combine to give you B, then you'll be good for this section. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, besides the story problem, which you're fine. Okay. All right. There you go.